Pollination enhancement. Welcome to your key components video for today. We are just going to touch on a couple of important things that you absolutely need to know about pollination in order to make sure that you have all of the knowledge for your focus area that you need for your project. So you've done some research on pollination, and as you've probably discovered already in your research, it's responsible for so many of our goods and services, as well as lots of the food that we eat. Okay, most crops that are grown for their fruits, so vegetables like squash, cucumber, tomato, nuts, seeds, fiber, hay, they all require pollination by insects. Okay, not only bees, but also other insects, but bees are key. So most crops, okay, that are grown for fruits, nuts, so many things do require pollination. And so that's why it is so important for us to focus on pollination. And just so that you have it, the definition of pollination. So, what actually happens? It's the transfer of pollen from the male parts of the flower to the female parts of the flower of the same species, which results in fertilization of plant ovaries and the production of seeds, which will then also increase the amount of those areas or of those seeds of that specific plant in those areas. Okay, so it will allow for more production of those plants. Part of the problem in pollination, as you may have found out, is actually keeping flowering plants active year round in order to support pollinators. So, something that lots of scientists are considering is making sure that all of these pollinators have something to pollinate year round, because some of these flowering things, they might not always have a flower available because they don't flower year round. Okay, has your mom or your aunt or your grandma ever planted some flowers in the yard, and then you see the flowers one month, but then they disappear and all you see is the green foliage another month. And then again, they come back next year. So something that we've been trying to focus on is making sure that these pollinators have a plant to actually pollinate year round. And one thing that has helped with this is looking into bioenergy crops. Now, these are crops that will produce energy. If you are interested in how this actually happens, you can click this video, and it's a YouTube video about bioenergy. But one proposal and something that you're going to be reading is about adding in some of these, what we call bioenergy crops, in order to give these pollinators something to pollinate year round. And then those crops are also used for energy. Okay. So you're going to be reading a study, and this is part of this study. But this is called Willow Planting Strategies for Bee Habitat Enhancement. So these bees need to kind of have something again year round to pollinate. And so, because of that, they're trying to create more of these places where these willows are that will flower in order to keep the bee populations alive. So, it will go through exactly how this happens. But what I want you guys to know as well is that these are going to be a bioenergy area. Okay, so this is kind of where these plants can also be used for energy. So it says native crop species planted within or near bioenergy areas can provide for pollinators when willow is not in flower. So what this does is the willow will flower for part of the year, and then the native crop species, or whatever is there around in the area, will be able to flower for another part of the year. So this will increase and help those bees survive. Okay, you'll be reading more about this in your article for today, but this is something to keep in mind and something that is important for pollination.